What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are fabricating the trusses for the shop. I am super stoked. Let me show you what I got. All right guys, so what we're gonna be using for the trusses are gonna be these 1 inch by 2 inch, 11 gauge wall, rectangular tubing. These are 24-foot sticks, which is what you gotta have to reach the 44-foot span once you get the two halves together. So just barely enough. I'll have to shave off a few inches, but it's pretty close. So that's gonna be our trusses. Then I got a piece of 2x6 11 gauge tubing that we are going to rip down all the way down the center and create cups for the 2x6s for the roof framing. I'll cut those cups about 4 inches wide and then weld those to the top of the trusses where I want each 2x6 to set. 30 sticks of the tubing, so quite a bit of steel there. Got it sitting on Wes's project gooseneck we've been working on. I actually worked on it some last night, finished up the angle on the ramp, and I got about halfway done with the frame on the top. It's gonna be a nice little trailer, and he's actually going to be selling it once we're done. So if you're interested, holler out at me if you're in Arkansas. So I basically measured out the span of my shop, doing some math calculations, figured out how much rise a 512 pitch roof would be from the roof line to the peak, which is pretty simple. Like a 512 pitch, for every foot this way, it goes 5 inches up this way. So if you got 1 foot, you go 5 inches. Another 1 foot, 5 inches. 1 foot, 5 inches. You get the idea. So using that calculation, I can figure out, okay, I got 22 feet from the very edge outside to the very middle. So 22 feet times 5 inches. Got my measurement from the top of the frame line to the peak of the roof. So in doing that, I chalked out where my trusses are gonna go. I'm gonna figure out how I wanna box in each end. We're gonna start laying out steel, go from there. All right guys, so I figured I would just show you this real quick. I squared this off, figured out where my post is gonna be coming up right here. Just kind of marked my angle. I already knew the angle of the cut, just for the truss itself, but I wanted to make sure that it was squared off perfectly down here at the end. So these guys are really handy, just little stops that screw on your square. It's gonna be 5 inches here, pitch. 12 inches here. That gives you a 512 pitch. I'm gonna get the ends lined out and then make the end cuts, put the end pieces on in place, and then I'll start figuring out where I want all the webbing to go. So what I'm using for the piece to bolt to the post itself is just a piece of 3-inch channel. I didn't want to use the tubing because when I put the bolts in, I didn't want to take a chance on caving it in and it becoming weak over time. And then on this side, this is where the 2x6 is actually going to sit. You can kind of see on the drawing right here. So the very last cup that'll hold the very end 2x6 will be right here at the end, right on the outside of the post. The cups will be 4 inches long. I'm gonna rip this 2x6 all the way down the middle. That's what that center line's for. And then cut all my cups out just like that. But before I do that, I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna drill the holes that I need and then screw it in just like that. finally got one half of a truss laid out. So the first one is always the hardest, of course, but just to figure out all your angles, all your measurements on all your pieces, every top of each triangle rests right in the middle of where a cup is going to sit and hold a 2x6 or possibly 2x8. So I'm going to go ahead and weld this all solid and then flip it over and then weld the other side solid. So this half will be completely done, besides paint, of course. Got the first half completely done and welded solid. Every weld inside and out. So really all the rest is just copycat work now. Just gotta mirror 7 more halves exactly like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 more pieces, cut the angles this way, and then simply lay them on top of here, and then just kind of build the next truss and the next half on top of this truss right here. All right, guys, so I basically have 2 halves that are assembled, and I ran a full length of tubing, 24 feet across, and then a 5-foot piece in the center just to tie it all in, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use these 2 pieces. They're laid out exactly how they'll be set on the post up in the air perfectly right now. So I tacked them together right at the top, there and there, and then I tacked this piece right there, and then I tacked that end, and of course that end. So just so they won't move around on me, and even if the whole thing did move a little bit, it wouldn't throw off the trusses that I'm building on top of this. So these aren't even all the brackets, these are just most of them. I made a template, and then I welded a stop bracket and then 2 alignment brackets on each side, so that way I could just set it on each piece as I was cutting and then mark it. So there's no guesswork, there's no mistakes. And so we're just getting a few more of these trusses lined up, getting ready to be welded. What is that? That's a hazard. That's a hazard. OSHA! All right, guys, so while I was recording the last clip of me finishing up the trusses, my phone crashed and I lost the video footage and didn't really have a way to replicate it. So we're gonna skip ahead to us loading the trusses, getting them here to the shop site, and then I'm gonna show you the finished product. What did you do? All right, guys, so this is it. All the trusses completely done. Just have to put them together at the centers, weld them up, and then bolt them to the posts. So most of what you didn't see, got all the cups cut out of the 2x8 tubing that I had. Of course, I have the screw holes in each cup. Cut those out with a plasma cutter. Thanks to Jackie, saved me a ton of time. I actually used a plasma cutter to cut all the cups out, which was a huge help. Literally saved me hours of cutting with the cutting wheel. So I got those cut out, welded on the top. The rest of the trusses assembled. Look pretty good. And yes, they are kind of swooped up. They're kind of bowed up in the middle just because of how we have them stacked right now. But let me assure you, when we put these on end, they are rigid as all get out. Very strong, way overkill. Honestly, about 40% stronger than the standard pole barn truss that you would typically buy from other companies. And they are very heavy. I can carry 1/2 by myself, but you really need 2 people to carry them at all. So very heavy duty, way overkill, but it'll just be that much stronger. And they'll be bolted to the 6x6 post that are going in our brackets that we have in the ground there. So now all we're waiting for is the lumber to arrive, which hopefully should be here in the next day or 2. So I'm excited about that, excited to get these done. I'll get them unloaded, clean them up, and paint them, put them together, mount them to the posts. And as you can see on the channel, that's where the 3/4 inch bolts will bolt through the post up there and there. So I'll get those cleaned up, painted, they'll look really good. And the other part that y'all didn't see is the piece of the truss that will be sitting on top of the post. So your post is gonna come right up here and sit flush against that piece of tubing coming out. And then this other piece, as you can see, goes in line with the rest of the truss coming down. And then there's another cup on the end that is far enough in to where when the post is here and then another 2x6 is out here, it'll plane in with the top of the roof frame. So got that all set, all done. Super excited to have these all finished up. A lot of work, a lot of cutting, a lot of welding. So I actually timed one of the trusses, and after it was all the pieces were cut, tacked, welded together, I went through and I welded an entire truss, both halves, all the way around each piece of tubing, and it took 1.5 hours of solid weld time. So 1.5 hours of solid weld time, not including the tacking, for each truss. So it adds up pretty fast, 4 trusses. So, and I went through, let's see, 2 bottles of gas, shielding gas, and almost 2 rolls of wire. So a lot of welding, a lot of work, a lot of time, but honestly, I think it was worth it. Saved myself some money, got some super heavy duty trusses that look good and that are gonna look even better when they're all painted. The next thing will be to get them mounted and get them set up, which is gonna be a whole nother challenge. So stay tuned for that in the next video. Well, that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. You guys are not gonna wanna miss the rest of this build. It's gonna be legit. I'm super excited. So stay tuned for that. Stay awesome. I'll catch you guys on the next one.